And away we go. It's the DFS Alert Bird presented by Awesemo.com, brought to you in part by Superdraft.io. More on them momentarily. Dan Strafford and Chris Randone with you on this Wednesday morning, getting you ready for the pre-All-Star break. Big slate. There is another slate tomorrow. 2 games, which I guess Adam and I will talk about, but 11 games here tonight. We'll talk through position by position. Chris, how the hell are you doing?
I'm good, man. 11 games Wednesday. It's the last big slate before the break, man. So let's hammer this out. Let's get some plays going.
It's that wonderful time of year where players who play NBA DFS religiously think, "Hey, I can try NHL. It'll be fine. Yeah, I'll play some NHL. Everything will work out just fine, and we'll be." And then is Daytona this weekend too? Is that finally here? Daytona 500.
Have you ever done NASCAR?
I have in the past. Yeah, Daytona is this weekend, so Daytona's going to get a huge bump because no NBA.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. I have done NASCAR, not this year. I've done it in the past. It's fine. It's kind of crazy with the way everything can blow up with a crash, but I guess that can happen with an injury in any sport too. So it's not too different there, and the start position matters comparatively to how good a driver the person is, and there's some rhyme or reason to it. I'm not big into the left turn culture where they just keep turning left, but I know enough about NASCAR in the past. My father-in-law was a big NASCAR fan for a while, so I knew enough to be dangerous, and then relied on some good folks in the industry to provide some good content. But I will probably not be playing that this weekend. I will do the family time instead. Chris and I were talking. Chris a little under the weather here, and how my children are petri dishes, but I'll gather them close and spend some time with them this weekend with no NBA. We do have some injuries to run through here quickly at the top. Not an injury, actually the exact opposite. Giannis is out with the birth of his son Liam. Congrats to Giannis and the mother of Liam. Don't know her name off the top of my head, but congrats to them. And obviously he'll be out here. Is supposed to play All-Star Weekend, but that may change as well. Obviously he's one of the team captains. Assume he will be there. Luka should be back on Wednesday night. That's according to Doncic himself, but still officially listed as questionable. So take that for what it's worth. DeAndre Ayton listed as questionable with an ankle injury and is, in fact, actually questionable. Kyrie Irving remains out with that knee/ankle issue. Kevin Love listed as questionable for Wednesday's contest with what's being deemed an Achilles injury. He's somebody who could sit into the All-Star break here. Clint Capella remains out. Derrick Rose practiced on Tuesday. He's expected to play Wednesday night. Serge Ibaka is still dealing with this illness, quote unquote. He is questionable officially for Wednesday night as of recording of this podcast. Let's see who else we have. Rashawn Holmes remains out. Marvin Bagley remains out. Mike Conley has a Q tag. He is questionable with the illness that he's been dealing with. NBA players, just stay away from each other. When you're sick, don't shake hands. Don't high five. Will Barton is out. Luke Kennard remains out. What else? Thomas Bryant could be back immediately after the All-Star break. Michael Porter is out. Mitchell Robinson is sick, but is probable. Anybody else that could influence this slate? I think that's about everybody. Yeah, anybody else? Marc Gasol remains out. Harrow remains out for Miami. Winslow out for Memphis. Plumlee is out for Denver still. So we'll probably talk a little bit about that front court as we get through power forward and center. All right. I think that's everybody. Obviously, stay tuned to Awesemo.com. Stay tuned to the NBA Strategy Show in the morning, the deeper dive, and live before lock for all the information you need. If you're not yet a member, use the promo code EARLYBIRD. Gets 50% off any sport or Awesemo Plus there at checkout, and more details on some giveaways and more from Awesemo.com later on in this podcast. But Chris, let's dive in. Point guard, we have Doncic and LeBron are both point guard eligible here. Doncic with a good matchup against Sacramento. LeBron with a fine matchup against Denver. Both sub 11K. Trae Young and Damian Lillard all above 10K as well. Trae Young against Cleveland, a prime matchup there at 10-4. Lillard at 10-2. And then we drop off to Booker, Russell, Butler, Kyle Lowry, all sub 9K. Of these 4 10K and above, do you have a favorite? Do you have one whose matchup stands out the most to you? Or do you find that maybe these are interchangeable parts and really saving some dollars might be worth it when you can get down to Lillard for $700 cheaper than Doncic?
Yeah, I mean, on 11-game slate, I was just thinking about this, looking at it at a first look, and it's difficult to pay up for like James or even Doncic in this situation. And it's hard to really say, is this a right move early on? Because, I mean, we really don't know too much of the value, going into this slate just yet. But with that said, James, this matchup's a little bit more of a difficult matchup at Denver. It's going to be slow paced with both of these teams. I think last time they played each other, he had just over 40 DK points. So at this 10.6K price tag, and I got to say, he hasn't really done much outside of the 40, between 40 and 50 point range in like his last like 12 games, I think, outside of maybe 2 or 3 of those games. So it's hard to say like he'll be such a factor. I don't think he's someone that will be on a winning lineup per se, especially in a GBP format. So Trae Young, on the other hand, though, this is a good matchup for him. The way that they've played the last few games are just, I mean, they just played on a back-to-back, Dan, where 48 minutes against New York, they travel down to Orlando. You would think that there would be some sort of maybe minute restriction. He still played 34 minutes. So, and I say this because, I mean, this is going to be the last game before All-Star break, but it's a great matchup. I don't see really anything to worry as far as limit restriction here. So I do like Trae Young out of all these top guys, 10K and above. But as we go down, it gets a little bit more interesting because there's just so many more options. If Giannis is out, I think you just got to lock in Bledsoe and Chris Middleton for that matter when we get to shooting guard. There's just really no other way around it. Bledsoe 7,700. I think that's okay to pay for. But I do like Dinwiddie at 7,800. I like Lowry at 7,900. Jimmy Butler is 8,000. A little bit of a tougher matchup against Utah, but there's a lot of these guys that can put up the same numbers, such as James, such as Jan, such as Doncic. And they cost less. But they do have the upside. So in this situation on an 11-game slate, Dan, I think a lot of people would want to gravitate and pay down as compared to those 4 guys, 10K and above.
Yeah, Trae Young is the one who stood out to me the most. Just the 34% usage. All the numbers across the board have been elite for Young all season long. You look at this matchup when you talk about pace of play, Atlanta, a top 10 team on the season. Cleveland, not the same. They're in the 20s, so it is a pace down game for Trae Young, but just seems like another prime spot for him to sort of bear the brunt of all of Atlanta's offensive woes and have a big contest. Obviously, James, Doncic, Lillard all have the upside. Agree with you that when you get into this 8K and below range, I'm locking and loading Bledsoe and Middleton unless, prices, I agree with you there, don't dictate. You have the upside of guys like John Morant, but the downside is equally as bad. Great matchup there with Portland. Alfred Payton is at 7,500, and I know he has had a very solid run, has had some big upside, playing big minutes, but anything with the Knicks just scares the crap out of me, so I would probably stay away from that. Van Vliet, along with Lowry, is at 7,600, so he has some upside. Mid-tier or cheap, anybody stand out? I know Will Barton's out, so maybe a Denver guard or two could well, I guess it's against the Lakers. You don't want to go there. Rubio gets Golden State. Dragic against Utah. Teague for Atlanta also at 4,800. I guess you can make a case for sub 5K in a matchup where hopefully he gets 25 to 28 minutes, may have some upside. And RJ Barrett is all the way down at 4,500 to point that out against the Washington Wizards. I know his minutes have been down, but he does have talent. What do you like as a cheap option potentially at point guard?
I think Colin Sexton can be somewhat talked about. It's a pace down for Atlanta with Cleveland, but Colin Sexton hasn't had the best of defense since coming into the league, and guards usually are able to kind of chew him up. But on the same side of the token, Atlanta's offense is pretty fast, and this is a pace-up spot for him essentially. So I do like Sexton here. Depending on what's going on with Derrick Rose, if he does play or if he doesn't, I think we can consider Reggie Jackson. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. He's been a lot more aggressive and shooting the ball a lot more, especially with Drummond now off the team. Karis LeVert has come to his own in the last few games, especially with Kyrie out coming into the starting lineup. Had a disappointing game last game. However, though, 30-plus minutes, a lot of shot attempts, and at 6,600, I think in a tournament style, you could definitely consider him. But I love the call on Dragic. I think that's okay. As far same with Kendrick Nunn, either one of those point guards out of Miami. But then we get down into like the nitty gritty, and Jeff Teague is someone that we can go ahead and mention. 4,700, Jordan McLaughlin. I don't think you're going to want to pay that. A lot of people were on him following his big game. Ended up only playing 16 minutes. I don't even think he averaged a point per minute, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm probably going to stay away from that. But other than that, though, man, you get down here and maybe some people will like Melton or Kai Bowman. I don't think Jarrett Culver is fantasy relevant. He's just, to me, fantasy-wise, he's just not that good. But that's it, man. I mean, you're going to want to stay above here at point guard, I think. I don't think there's enough value that justifies paying for any of these guys in the 3 or, high 4K range.
I will point out a guy who I'm pretty sure was very highly owned against the Brooklyn Nets, but Victor Oladipo.
Oh.
He is Oladipo's 4,800, and we can play him at shooting guard, whatever on DK, and we'll talk a little bit about other sites momentarily. But he's playing consistently in the 20s minutes wise. He's taking double-digit shots. He's taking at least 6 3-pointers in his last 4 games. 10 4 games ago, 6, 6, and 6. This is a guy who we've seen have immense upside. Milwaukee, a team that is number 1 in pace in the league. I know Giannis won't be there, but that doesn't mean all of a sudden they slow down. And secondarily, they give up a ton of 3-point attempts and a pretty good 3-point percentage, if I remember correctly. So if there's a get-right game for Victor Oladipo, this feels like it. And I know if you look at specific numbers, maybe point guard versus position or shooting guard versus position when it comes to defense, this may not seem like it, but Oladipo is a guy sub 5K, I think, is on a deeper slate, going to be the lower owned, coming off a disappointing outing. I think Oladipo is somebody at point guard or shooting guard, depending on how it all shakes out, I will be on. So take that for what it's worth.
I want to say one thing on this. Since he's been back, they've lost every game. I don't know if you know this. 6-game losing streak. He's been back for 6 games now. He's affected the entire offense. They don't have any synergy. There's just really no chemistry, and I think it's kind of played into collapses in the fourth quarter as well. I like the call on Oladipo, but I think like the other night we were on the podcast, and I haven't seen the flashes of that Oladipo yet to where we can get excited as far as like the explosiveness, the aggressiveness to the rim, getting to the free throw line. I think in a couple games so far, he hasn't even gone to the free throw line, and that's really unlike him because he is someone who can draw fouls, get into the lane, and just create opportunities. So I like it, and I think it's okay to go with that at 4,800. But I will say, outside of Sabonis, it's really hard to kind of trust any of these Pacers with Oladipo in the mix. And I mean, the same thing goes for Oladipo as well. So it's been interesting since he's been back. They're not the same team.
No over-under yet on that one. It looks like Milwaukee -1.5, and obviously that is heavily influenced by Giannis not being in this contest. We'll see if an over-under publishes before, but probably won't come out till Wednesday morning as we're recording Tuesday night, looking towards Wednesday. Let's talk shooting guard. A lot of the guys we've already mentioned will be eligible here. Bradley Beal, though, at the top, 9,600. We know the case for Beal each and every game. He's at a 33% usage rate, has a matchup here. I should point out, actually, over the last 15 games, Beal is at 36. He's jumped up to third in the league from 32.8. He's at 36%, 36.2% usage. That's a significant jump, and somebody who plays a ton of minutes, somebody who constantly has the ball in his hands, has a matchup here with the Knicks, who have struggled, obviously, in multiple ways on the year. He's 9,600. Not sure he's going to be a focal point of any lineup construction here, but you could do a lot worse than Beal with this high upside against the Knicks. Do you have any reason to not play Beal? Is the price point prohibitive to you, or do you see somebody else you prefer at shooting guard over Brad Beal, just sub of 10K?
Man, I mean, I like Brad Beal, don't get me wrong, but I just don't know if I want to pay 96. I'd rather just go down to Booker or Butler, who has the same upside as Beal, essentially almost that same exact ceiling. So you can save a lot there. And if there's ownership going to Beal, I mean, it's a no-brainer to pivot down to Booker or Butler, who, in my opinion, are just better options at that price point and point per dollar wise. So I would probably pump the brakes on that. But look at this shooting guard section. I mean, from 6K up, there's just a bunch of great options and quite a few guys who are in great matchups like Van Fleet, Mitchell. And one guy that really stands out, Dan, is CJ McCollum. He's at 6,800. Going to be going into Memphis. They really struggle against shooting guards. And I really think that he probably won't garner a lot of ownership just from a first look. But I will say this, Dylan Brooks will probably really struggle guarding him. I could see him getting to the foul line a bunch. Dylan Brooks also struggles with fouls. So I like this for McCollum, and I do like Donovan Mitchell as well. So there's a lot of great options here. Kevin Huerter, who I do like, he's playing a ton of minutes. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know this guy like before the season, but he is coming into his own, and I got to say, I've been impressed. So, but he's getting up there now, 6,200, and if that's something you can stomach, okay. I mean, it's going to be a great matchup for him, but maybe I don't know if 6,200 is the right price to pay. However, though, if no ownership's going there, he could be a leverage play in the tournament.
CJ McCollum on Tuesday night went 30 minutes, 20 points, 3 assists, a rebound. New Orleans blew out the Portland Trailblazers 138 to 117. So you maybe lost a few minutes there, but McCollum in this game back-to-back could be a little bit of a concern, but a lot of these teams are on back-to-backs or, 3 in 7 days or 2 in 4 days sort of situations here. But McCollum makes some sense to me. I was going to point out Kevin Huerter. 6,200 feels like the right price to me. Not a ton to necessarily profit from him there when you look at the price point, but as you said, he's playing a ton of minutes. He's playing a crap ton of minutes. So could make a lot of sense. Looking cheaper, you mentioned Kendrick Nunn over there at point guard. Jeff Teague also trying to make some sense of 5K or below. RJ Barrett, again, is somebody who's upside, just not playing a ton of minutes. So that is, of course, a bit concerning. I guess you could probably make a case for a Kevin Porter Jr. down here at sub 4,500, playing again 24 to 28, 31 minutes against an Atlanta team that obviously gives up a decent amount of points, plays up fairly high in pace at 7th. So it's a big pace-up game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And if Kevin Love's out, which questionable right now, obviously more shots just to go around, more ball handling to go around as well. Any cheap options for you at shooting guard?
Looking
it's
at
okay
it,
if the answer is no.
No, looking at it, I mean, I guess, we can consider maybe like DiVincenzo, Kevin Porter Jr., I think I'm okay with. Even Michael Carter-Williams, surprisingly. And I say that just because, dart throw, right? Nothing crazy. I'm not going to say he's going to win you a tournament. But, Augustin's been out. He's been getting 20-plus minutes. In some instances, he's been getting good extended around 23, 25 minutes. So at 4,600 in this matchup where I think that they won't struggle against Detroit. So, once again, these are just ideas of maybe guys that we can fit in. But other than that, man, I'm not liking shooting guard too much here at the bottom. So for me, I think I'll stay up. I think we're going to find more value at the forward positions and also center.
So the matchup for the Orlando Magic is the Detroit Pistons. And I saw with Drummond getting traded, obviously it's Thon McCour and Thon Maker, depending on who you ask how to pronounce that name, and Christian Wood in the front court. Have you seen what their nickname is, the two of them? Rather than the Twin Towers, they are the Thin Towers because they're both really skinny centers in the NBA. So
who made that up?
I don't know. I saw Rod Beard is one of the.
Sure you didn't make that up?
I mean, that's possible. I mean, let's be honest. I make dad jokes with the best of them or the worst of them, depending on how you look at it. But wow. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to see and credit properly.
So it should be a game where Vooch just eats then, right?
You would expect Vucevic to be fairly popular on this slate. Let's see if I Twitter. Yeah, Thin Towers. It's out there on the Twitter sphere. So it is something that exists.
Oh wow, you're right. They have an actual.
Yeah, there's
Is that John Henson with them too?
Yep. Get on board. The Thin Towers. Thin Towers. I can see myself in that mold. Anyway, let's move on to small forward. All 5'11" of me, but small forward up next. We both mentioned Middleton. Listen, 8,800 is expensive enough for Chris Middleton, but we know the minutes and the usage is going to be there. Indiana, not necessarily the greatest matchup here. just simply from a pace perspective. They're 24th in the league, so you could obviously consider it cash games. I think Middleton's going to be somebody that is fairly popular, probably the same in GPP. So if you want to pivot away, absolutely get why, but seems like there's enough room to profit at 8,800. Oubre against Golden State stands out a bit to me here. Don't know what Wiggins is going to be for Golden State until he settles in there. You mentioned LeVert at 6,600. Herder is here at 62. You have a couple other names in the 6K range that may be interesting, and Anunoby against Brooklyn, or even, somebody like, Bogdanovich with all the injuries they have in the front court for Sacramento. He's at 5,100. I know he doesn't have necessarily the biggest ceiling, but definitely has some upside against Dallas here, playing at a decent amount in the 30s. Who are some of your plays at small forward?
Ooh, Middleton, I agree with you, man. It's gonna be interesting to see what people want to do tomorrow with Middleton being that he's 8,800. But I hope people don't want to pay for him. I mean, I really don't. With Giannis out, 100% locking him in. It doesn't really matter. He's going to shoot 20 plus shots. He's going to have a ton of usage. I'm okay with that. Oubre, 7,200. I had him this past slate, and he came off the bench because he missed the team bus. Hurt my team drastically because obviously he didn't get enough time on the floor. But 7,200 is getting to that point where you do want to play him because he just plays so much and he shoots so much. It's like, it's really hard to say no to that. So I like Oubre. I'm okay with it. Aaron Gordon, 6,900. I'm okay with it too. I mean, this is another guy that extended time on the floor is part of the offense, and it's a great matchup for him as well. So the Twin Towers, I think, are in trouble with him and, Vucevic. But as we go down, I think a majority of where you want to go is in the 5K sweet spot. Love Bogdanovich, like you mentioned. I think Bridges is okay. Dylan Brooks, if he can stay out of foul trouble, he's going to shoot a ton. I'm okay with that too. And I even like Harrison Barnes, man, at 5,200. I'm okay with. I mean, he's, believe it or not, 3 of the last 4 games, double-digit shot attempts, making threes, and also getting involved in rebounds and assists. So at 5,200, if a guy's going to play, 35 minutes and he's going to be contributing in all those areas, definitely someone you should consider. And OG's coming off a career game for Toronto. This is a game where it's somewhat of a decent matchup. Now, I will say this. He took 13 shots. Now, I don't know if we're ever going to see that again because I don't think he's taken double-digit shots all year, if I'm not mistaken. But he also had a double-double, 12 rebounds. Definitely an anomaly, but hey, man, at 5,200, he's going to have time on the floor. So I'm okay with that too. Ingles, Kuzma, both in the 4K range. You can consider them if you want. But as you go down, I think the value guy that I would want to focus on is probably Trevor Ariza at 4,500.
All right. Let's see. We did get Anthony Simons back. Want to check in on what he did in this Portland Trailblazers game on Tuesday night, simply because Gary Trent Jr. had been playing a ton of minutes and had been really becoming the big scorer off the bench for the Portland Trailblazers, which just sort of takes some time to think through that statement and how crazy it is. But let's see what Simons did. Just to understand, to point out, I think Trent Jr. could be intriguing. Simons played 19 minutes, 9 points, 4 assists. But to look at Gary Trent Jr., 27 minutes, just 4 points, a steal, 2 rebounds. So maybe we stay away enough influence here from a Simons. And obviously this game did not go the way the Trailblazers wanted. But I'll maybe stay away from Trent Jr. here on this night. Just to remind you, we are brought to you in part by Superdraft.io. They are the future of daily fantasy. It has arrived. Experience Superdraft's exclusive game mode multiplier. Say goodbye to salary restrictions and hello to lineup freedom. Use your fantasy sports knowledge to draft any player you want and build your very own dream team. You can do that by heading over to Superdraft.io. They have NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and PGA. Use the promo code AWESEMO. Claim your free $20 in Super Cash with your first deposit of $100 or more. Download in the App Store or play at Superdraft.io. Superdraft, no limits, more winning. After Power Forward, I will alert you how to get into some giveaways over at awesemo.com. Always remember, promo code EARLYBIRD. Get you 50% off your first week of any Awesemo Premium Plus package. Promos in under a minute. EMAC can't do that. Power forward is up. Well, it was like a minute 10 maybe, but power forward is up next. Good to see Anthony Davis has that Q tag back, because there were like 2 games, Chris, where the Q tag went away, and I thought, what's the world coming to? Anthony Davis is going to play. He's not listed as well. He's back. So a finger sprain, his right ring finger is sprained. Also amazing that Anthony Davis is only 26 years old. Every time I see that, blows my mind. But nonetheless, he gets Denver, 10K, great matchup. Same for LeBron. Sky's the limit, right? We know that on any given slate, they can blow the slate away. Think it's fine. Think 10K is a fine price point. Don't know how much I'm going to roster him, depending on how I'm going at point guard and small forward. I think shooting guard, we found 1 or 2 options at the cheap end. Yet Sabonis coming off a triple-double, 9,800. John Collins and Trae Young have been a pick-and-roll machine. He's 9,100, so that price point has come up. But I love that matchup for Collins, especially coming off of a down game. You have Pascal Siakam coming off of a huge game again, gets a good matchup with the Brooklyn Nets. Power forward feels pretty loaded here at the top. Who are some of your top plays, and who do you think you'll lean on the most?
Man, how good is Sabonis?
I mean, he's really good. He's made Miles Turner irrelevant. And Turner 2 or 3 years ago, I know injuries have slowed him down, but was one of the better front court players in the NBA.
Dude, I gotta say, man, it's just seeing his footwork and just seeing kind of the way that he plays the game with his mind is just really fascinating. So it's just nice to see him translate from Gonzaga. I'm a big Gonzaga fan, so he was in the Final Four a few years back, and I didn't think he would be like this. So Orlando Magic, they did a horrible trade. For those of you that don't know, Sabonis was drafted by the Magic, man, and then shipped off to OKC for Serge Ibaka. Probably one of the worst trades in history. I think Oladipo was part of that trade. Am I mistaken?
There were a lot of moving parts with Ibaka there. I don't know if Oladipo was part of that specific trade.
Okay.
It's possible.
I could have sworn. But anyways, yeah. So, I questioned going with Sabonis last game because of the previous few games before that, and just didn't know if that price tag would warrant him getting there. But hey, almost 60 DK points last game, triple-double. So definitely has the capability of doing it.
And yes, you're right. To confirm, it's Serge Ibaka to Magic for Oladipo, Sabonis, and Ersan Ilyasova.
Yeah, what a horrible trade.
Well, I mean, at the time, yes.
The Magic were going nowhere. They took on all the – oh, my God. They could have had Sabonis, too. Sorry, never mind. I used to live in Orlando, so, I have ties there to the Magic in some degree. But I like John Collins, Randall. I think Kevin Love, if he's out, do we go ahead and focus on Nance? Because Nance would be 5,100 here. And I got to tell you, if Love is out, automatically I think Nance becomes chalk at 5,100. There's just really no other way around it. So I'm okay with that. And but other than that, man, I think BJ from Sacramento, 6,300. He's someone who is going to get a lot of time on the floor. The reason why I like him so much is because he does contribute in all areas and defensively. I don't know his price tag on FanDuel, but there's obviously a lot more upside there as well with the blocks and steals that he gets. But other than that, man, TJ Warren, Carmelo, and Millsap are all in the 5K range. Now, Millsap's coming off an injury, but really progressed this past game. The last 2 games, actually, since he's been back. He's only played 18 and 19 minutes, Dan. However, though, 33 DK points and 43 DK points. I mean, the fantasy point per minute is just unreal right now. And the usage off the bench, I like him coming off the bench.
Absolutely, yeah.
Second unit, rather than being there with Jokic and being there with Murray. So the offense kind of revolves around him in that second unit. So I think Millsap is a great spot, especially against the second unit of the Lakers. I don't think he'll have trouble there, especially if Kuzma's on him. So that's kind of where I'm looking at here as far as power forward. And then as we go down, might as well just say Hachimura, Harrison Barnes, Jay Crowder, a little disappointed that his price came all the way up to 5,100, but I will say he has a huge role on this offense with the Miami Heat and just a huge role on the team in general. So love the move there. And obviously for the amount of time that he's going to get on the floor, I've paid $5K for him this year with Memphis. I don't think I mind paying 5,100 for him here with Miami.
Makes sense. And you pointed out some of those specific ideas around the Cleveland front court. Atlanta, we've talked about many times over on this podcast, on any number of podcasts, about how the struggle for the Atlanta front court. Now, that has changed because obviously they moved Len on. Clint Capella has been brought in. Now, Capella is still injured with that heel injury, but they brought Dwayne Dedman back in. And so there are some specific things to account for there. But I think Nance and even Tristan Thompson will become pretty popular options on Wednesday night if, in fact, Kevin Love is out. But you scroll through, I think power forward has a lot of depth here and gives you some flexibility when it comes to roster construction. But I do think Nance Jr. at 5,100 could be very intriguing if Love is, in fact, out. Let's close it out talking some centers. And I will remind you, of course, Awesemo.com for anything you need when it comes to daily fantasy sports. There is a ton going on each and every day over at Awesemo.com. Our Slack channel is available to any of the Premium Plus subscribers. That is for anybody to come on in and enjoy Slack chat, start chatting, talk about your lineup construction, talking about whatever it might be. And I will point out, it is our biggest giveaway ever. So if you want to check out over at Awesemo_com, it is a tweet that should be pinned, I do believe. Guess the total points the Lakers and Nuggets will score Wednesday night. This happens to be the podcast leading up to that Wednesday night game. So you must follow both Awesemo_com and Awesemo NBA. Reply with your guess, then like and retweet. I know it's a lot of steps, folks, but what we're giving away is, and I want to make sure I read this correctly. Got to make sure I get this right. You can win a 1-year platinum pass to Awesemo.com. So it's the third year of Awesemo.com. It is a celebration. Guess the total points between the Lakers and Nuggets over at twitter.com/Awesemo_com or Awesemo NBA. Follow them both. Like the tweet, retweet the tweet, reply with your guess, and you could win one of 3 possible 1-year platinum passes. So check that out. Easy way to get a free membership. Then you can troll the hell out of Adam or Lofty or Chris in Slack chat. You can just keep DMing them over and over and over again, saying, hey man, what's going on? You're gonna reply? You're not gonna reply? All right, that's fine. But nonetheless, don't actually DM them. You don't need to do that. Let's talk some centers. Karl Anthony Towns, monster matchup, 10-5. You have Sabonis eligible here as well. But I guess we start with Jokic at 10-1. Lots of shots available here, lots of upside. The Lakers defense we know is very good. Do you like Jokic 10K plus, or is he somebody you'd stay away from?
I don't think you have to stay away from him entirely. I think that, he does warrant some upside, a lot of upside. I mean, if things are rolling, he's triple-double potential. It's hard to just say and write him off, just like Doncic. I mean, these guys, if they can get there and ownership's not going to be there, yeah, you definitely want to have a few shares of him. I'm okay with that. I think where I would want to go the most, though, is the guy we spoke on earlier a little bit, is Vucevic, man, at 9K. I just think that a great matchup for him has really been dominant as of late. And from a fantasy perspective, I just think that there's so much upside there at the 9K price point. And considering there's so many other guys above him, I'm not sure how much attention he'll get compared to, let's just say, Collins, Drummond, Sabonis, Davis, Jokic, Towns. So that's going to be interesting to see. Although I will say a lot of these big men are in great spots, and the ownership's going to be spread out. There's just no way that one guy is going to be heavily owned compared to the rest of them. So center's a real interesting position, because then you have Whiteside, who I think is in probably even a better spot than Vooch, essentially, 8,400. I mean, Whiteside, it's just so hard to not want him, especially double-double potential easily. And I think Joe Val and Jaren Jackson Jr. will just have a tough time guarding him. So, man, looking at center is stacked. And so you're going to have to make the decision, do you want to pay up at center or do you want to pay down? And let's just say focus on maybe like Brooke Lopez, Marquise Chris, Serge Ibaka, Jared Allen, these guys. I mean, when you look at the risk reward and comparing them, you're going to want to probably spend up at center here.
So I need to have a mea culpa here, and I completely forgot Andre Drummond was on the Cleveland Cavaliers. It just completely
Really?
dropped out of my brain when talking about the Nance and Tristan Thompson comment I made. Forgot Drummond was traded there, and this matchup with Atlanta is astronomically huge for him and is an absolute crush spot at 9,400 now. We've made mention a couple of times about ownership, and Osmo, obviously, Osmo.com has ownership projections. I'm very intrigued by how center ownership breaks down on this slate because there are just so many good
Yeah.
matchups. Towns, I think, has a prime matchup against Charlotte. Drummond has a great one. Vucevic here has a great one, and these price points aren't that disparate. Now, 10.5 to 9.4 is enough to save, but 9.4 to 9K, I think, is close enough that that'll really be determined by ownership percentage. So check that out. And I think to your point, then you talk about, Marquise Chris has figured out some things for the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, the minutes have been there simply because there's not a ton of other bodies, but he's been doing some good work for them on the offensive side of the ball. Matchup, if Ayton's out, would obviously clear the lane a little bit there. And then even get down to a Deadman or a PJ Washington at 4,400, who plays 24 to 36 minutes, depending on the slate. He has a bit of upside in my mind. Center has a lot to offer here. So I think you're
So
going to
much.
have
Dude, and I got to say real quick, this is not NBA related, but
okay.
when I was looking up something just now, and for one of the centers here, I came across a tweet, and I guess just now in the St. Louis Blues Anaheim Ducks game, one of the players literally collapsed
Oh no.
on the bench, and then they just canceled the game too in the first period. But I came across it and I saw the video, and it shows the video of him collapsing. It's pretty scary. Just want to say so. Prayers to this player, Jay Boomeister.
Yeah, Baumeister. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
So totally off topic, but I got to say that just thought we should just prayers to that player, man. Hopefully everything's okay. So.
Yeah, I just saw the same video of him sort of. Wow. Yeah, that's
Dude,
terrible
what
to
do you
see.
think that? What do you think that was?
I mean, you hope it's just low blood sugar or something. You hope it's something having to do with.
Yeah, because I was looking. He total time on the ice, first period. I mean, 5 minutes and 34 seconds. So, clearly, I was thinking maybe like a heart arrhythmia.
Yeah, I think you can start going down the path of any number of heart issues or brain issues, but you hope that it's didn't eat dinner, and just whatever it might be, blood sugar crashed and something happened where his body shut down, which can happen, and hopefully is all this is. But both teams gone to the locker rooms as he was taken off on a stretcher. Details to come. Obviously, best wishes to him and to the team and to anybody involved in this. Terrible to see anybody have to go through anything like this. So as we close out the podcast, you can always find Chris on Twitter at Chris Rendon. You can find me at Dan Strafford. As I said, you can find Osmo_com. That is the main Twitter handle for the website. You can also follow Osmo NBA. If you want to enter this contest, head on over to the Osmo NBA or Osmo_com Twitter feed, and you can get all the details. But you need to retweet, you need to like, you need to reply and follow both handles to be entered to win a potential Platinum Plus year-long subscription. Don't forget superdraft.io for all your new world DFS needs. With that said, tomorrow morning you probably will hear from Adam and I in a very abbreviated 2-game slate DFS podcast, and then we will talk to you again on the other side of the NBA break right here on the DFS Other Bird, presented by Osmo.com.